This is Paul. Yeah. I was just looking at this. It says de jure, legal, lawful, legitimate, duly authorized, the opposite of de facto. Yes. But then there's the delict, a wrong, a tort. Now let's say that someone decided to sue me for my constitutional rights, the right to keep and bear arms, the right to life, liberty, and property, the right to have my sons. And they did it in such a way that they never gave me notice of any of the temporary protection orders, and effectively they did it because they thought that my rights just don't matter, the rights of my sons don't matter, the rights of my posterity don't matter, the right to have children doesn't matter. But then there's somebody in a sheriff's office saying, well, you've got to pay the sheriff if you want to have him enforce the law. And I'm like, well, you got elected to office. I provide the evidence that my rights have been taken. And you expect me to pay you the oath of office because you promised that you would enforce the law. Now, what if every citizen that wanted the laws enforced had to go down to the police station or the sheriff's department and pay a couple $100s to get the law enforced? Now, let's say you're a superior court judge or a Supreme Court judge, and you said, well, we don't actually have to be involved, even though we've sworn that if we had knowledge of anything that violates the state constitutions or the United States Constitution, but you made an agreement in which there is no obligation to pay money, yet a promise to perform an agreement does exist, the same as a nude contract. Now, they would say an oath is an actual promise that when you're elected to office or you're appointed to office, I, as a citizen, have no obligation to pay you to do what you have sworn. Now, if every person in America were to have to pay some sort of fee or bill or something to those in law enforcement, let's say your store gets robbed. There's a burglar in the store, a thief, and they rip you off, and instead of calling 911, pooch, you had to send a check to the police department to get them to enforce the laws of the United States. Now, we have a 911 system, an emergency phone call. Yes, we do. In fact, could you get me every telephone number that's called 911? Every email address of every telephone number for the last 40 years. Could you get me that, please? Now, let's say I've been sued for my constitutional rights, my life, liberty, and property. I wasn't a resident of Washington State in 2011. I didn't know about due process. I'd been a stockbroker, a commodity trading advisor, a loan officer, and I had a pretty good working knowledge of lawsuits. Let's say there's always this compliance issue when you're working with other people's money, and then somebody decided to issue this protection order where the petitioner didn't sign it, where I was not given actual notice and opportunity to be heard, and it violated the Violence Against Women's Act. Now, I haven't had a lot of money because of the obstruction of justice that I've had to experience. But when I read the oath of office, and I don't have a copy of it with me right here, but I can probably find it in the dictionary or some of these books. When you make a promise, don't expect me to go to the sheriff's office and pay you a couple $100s to enforce the laws of the United States. There's no obligation to have to pay as a citizen for the enforcement of the laws. Now, it could be that those that are sworn oaths of office that are employees of various cities, counties, states, and the United States, when the petitioner does not sign it, when you don't give actual notice to the respondent that there's a lawsuit against them to deprive them of their constitutional rights, right to keep and bear arms, pooch, right to have my life, liberty, and property, right to have the immunities and privileges of the Constitution, a right to have all 10 amendments in that Bill of Rights, and a number of other amendments, the 11th, the 12th, 13th, 14th, all the amendments that are enforceable, and then the ones that are not enforceable, that those in the judiciary wouldn't violate those. Now, when there are very questionable signatures on these court documents, and how's it going? When I'm not named as a respondent and there's no named petitioner, there's no date of birth, but this is a certified copy by the Clallam County Clerk on 2015, and then there that did not have actual notice and opportunity to be heard. When you sue me for my right to have any sort of weapon, when you sue me for my right to take away my sons and take away what I would consider my life, having been the father of 5 sons and wanting my family, and you, the oath of office in every post office, senior executive service, every person that has a badge on, why would you expect that I'm going to pay you to enforce the law when it's your job? That's what you get paid every month to do. Okay. Now, don't be surprised when I sue you, all right, for not doing your job, because there's no obligation on my part as a citizen to have to pay for law enforcement to enforce the laws of the United States.